let's have a conversation. So with this conversation, I'm going to share with you all about Kearney. She's going to be talking about men and dating and some things that this guy has discovered in the book that she read about dating, and some things he found out that he should have done differently, and some things that kind of really opened his eyes. So stay tuned. She has some great things to share with you. Get your popcorn, your drinks, your snacks, and tune in. Here's what Kearney has to share with us. Take a look.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me just share this way. Welcome to Coffee with T, and I'm T. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here on Monday because you guys know that Monday is Man Convo Monday, where men get to come and hashtag Coffee with T and share their truth. And today I am very, very excited about my guest. I'm so excited about him. So we're going to move right on right now because we're here a little bit early because Kevin has a previous engagement and he did not want to not see us. About Kevin. Kevin Carr is an accomplished author, speaker, television host, personality with over a decade of experience. His perspective on dating provides a practical roadmap to help navigate being single while learning to create the relationship you desire. Kevin Carr has this book out, right? I got to share this first to make sure y'all get it. Ladies, listen to me. If you want a book, this is the book you need to get. It's called What I've Learned About Dating. And this book right here comes from Kevin's perspective on dating. And it's just so eye-opening because it came from the inner him. Instead of, I've read books that men have written and it's about helping us. And instead of really coming from a perspective of self. So I'm excited to have Kevin here. Hey, Kevin.
What's up, Trey?
How are you? You know I'm real geeked up about this, right? So listen, everybody. I had Kevin's book for about 3 years, probably since I met Kevin, probably a little longer. And I never read the book until now. I see you guys coming in. Good morning, Steve. Good morning. Good morning. So if you just tuned in, you're tuned into hashtag Coffee with T, and I'm T, and I have my very special guest here with me today, Kevin Carr, who is an amazing author and a dating expert. And we're going to get right into this. So Kevin, where I want you to start at, like I start out with all the other guys on Man Convo Monday, is to share a little bit about your blueprint, your history, your background, your relationship with your parents and growing up.
Yeah, so my background is unique. Great relationship with both of my parents. My mom and dad were married probably until I was about 16. I'm an only child, so that's a whole interesting dynamic in one aspect. Well, I'm my mom's only child.
Okay.
Oh. And so my dad was a bit of a rolling stone. I have about 18 brothers and sisters that I know of.
Are you really?
Yeah. He was busy.
Oh.
So that's a whole different dynamic, right? So you got all these different moving parts, and so that's kind of like the home background. I've been doing speaking, writing, kind of on the in this field for about a little over 10 years at this point. It really started from a conversation. I was taking my cousin to the hospital so she can get her labor induced years ago, and I'm driving to the hospital and we having a conversation, and I'm like, all right, listen, you're my cousin, I love you, but where is the guy? Where's this guy who's impregnated you? And she hadn't heard from him in a couple weeks, and she's not much pregnant, and it was just. I was like, listen, and she already had a baby by him, so
wow.
This wasn't new behavior. I thought to myself, it's hard to break attachments, but when you allow somebody to treat you continually, there's a certain responsibility that you have in that. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and she said, you should write a book. And I kind of started doing surveys, and then from those surveys, I created the first book, and then kind of from there, I've been in the field, started writing for Essence, and how we met, just kind of speaking, and just kind of been working in the field ever since.
Yes, I love it. So your book has so many great nuggets. Your book showed me that men do have values. Men do plan for themselves. Men do have standards. Men absolutely know what they want. And we think really like when we're in relationship with men that they don't know what they want. Like, oh, he just doesn't know what he wants. But you guys absolutely know what you want, and you absolutely know what you don't want. So I wanted to ask you a few questions. So the one thing I loved about you from the day I met you, you said something and it never, ever, ever left my mind. And I carry this in my pocket wherever I go. So many women, I'm going to say, we get into relationships early, we start giving ourselves titles. And you said relationship is collecting data. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's just kind of like the process, especially that dating process. You know, like we meet people and there's like this chemical reactions, and it's like, well, I like this person. Oh, they go to church and I go to church, right? Like that's cool, but it's like we don't. A lot of times we don't spend enough time collecting data, learning each other. Right? Like we put so much emphasis on where we want to be, whether that's a committed relationship or whether that's a marriage, which is great. But we do that sometimes at the detriment of actually getting to know the human being that I'm interested in.
Right.
And so when we do that, a lot of times we end up in the relationships that we really shouldn't be in, but we overlook things along the way. It's not always bad things. Sometimes we just overlook like, okay, we aren't a good fit for each other. And I think that specifically where we are now in terms of we are in, times we don't, we are in devastating times that we don't want to be in, but it does provide us the opportunity to refocus on conversations and refocus on actually learning each other, actually communicating, actually discovering who this person is beneath the surface. And that's how you can kind of do a better job of finding out is this somebody that I should be with.
Right. I love that. So it helped me along the way to help other women to say, every man that we go on a date with is not our husband. Every man that we go on a date with is not our boo or our babe after 2 weeks. You are here to simply collect data, to get information about this person, to really see if you're really compatible and if you're really wasting your time. But as women, I've noticed, including myself, that we get so attached so quickly. So I try to encourage women, just collect some data. Dating is collecting data. I need a t-shirt with that on it. I'll give you your props to say I got this from Kevin Carr. I'm not going to steal it. Okay, have we diminished ourselves as women by lowering the bar just to have a man?
What do you mean? Give me an example in terms of lowering the bar.
Just settling and seeing the red flags, because we always say this, and I coach women too, and we always say, I didn't see the red flags, and then when we get to a conversation, we seen the red flags. So we have these standards up here, but in order to have that man, have we really lowered the bar just to have a man?
I think in general, right? Like I've missed red flags. Like, so I think that it's really not a hard thing to do. The hard thing is one of the hardest things to do is acknowledge the red flag in the moment, because you're in the midst of this situation where, especially if you've been dating for a while and you might not have come across anything significant, and you finally get that person, you meet that person, and then it seems promising, and so you see something that's like, I don't know about this, and you almost are afraid to address it, right? So I don't think women in general have lowered the bar. I think it's easy to overlook things. I think that the important thing is that what I've learned is that when you spot a red flag, it doesn't go away, and so you have to address it. But I think that some of the conversations around red flags haven't helped, right? Because a lot of times when we say that word red flag, we assume it's something negative.
Right.
It doesn't have to be. It just may mean inspect, or this requires further information.
Right.
And so sometimes I learned to say, okay, like a red flag just might mean I might need to ask a question or ask a few questions or probe a little bit. I think that if we're talking about women, so I think if women in general, specifically, you see those red flags, take it as an opportunity or look at it as an opportunity to greater get to know that person, then that help you kind of address it in the moment, so you don't end up down the line and say, damn, I missed it there, because I've been in that situation where I've ended up 6 months down the line and realized I could have addressed it there, but I didn't,
Right. So it's not going to, if something that's not addressed is not going to go away.
No, so you got to address it. And sometimes, again, it's just about asking a question or just, initiating a conversation about that topic just to gather more information about it. I think sometimes, we want love, we want commitment so bad that sometimes it inhibits us from really engaging in the dating process fully, because we get this fear of, well, if I address it, or if this might not be it.
Right.
Yep,
I totally get it. I want to ask now. So we're going to transition into about Black men and dating, because a lot of us, we really
Okay.
don't understand, the mentality of a Black man dating and the things that go on as a Black man dating. So we can kind of sort of judge harshly. What are the
Yeah.
biggest challenges as a Black man dating?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is just the dynamics of our race, and I mean, obviously, and that's a large conversation in itself when you talk about slavery, how that has affected our ability to have relationships and Jim Crow and all these different things. But just the dynamic of, I use myself as an example. Again, my mom and dad was married, but I didn't see a healthy, what I would consider a healthy family dynamic growing up, right? And so now you got a lot of Black men who, even those who want to have a healthy family dynamic, have no idea how to produce that, right? And so you can want that, or you can desire that as much as you want, but if you don't have an actual blueprint of how to produce it, you can't.
Wow.
And so sometimes, and again, it's not to excuse like behavior that we're not going to excuse behavior,
right.
But there's a reason for it. And so, a person can only emulate what they know how to. It's like we're programmed to produce a certain thing. And so if you look at, again, look at myself as an example. You grew up, I didn't necessarily see that dynamic. My father, who was cool, I feel like one of the greatest men I've ever met, but he wasn't a person I would go to for relationship advice.
Wow.
Right? So I didn't have it there. And then you talk about the neighborhoods that we live in. You talk about the people that we would consider elders, our uncles, or the guys in the neighborhood that are older than us. Many of them also come from broken homes and don't have, a proper view of women and of relationships, right? The music that we listen to, that we feed ourselves consistently, also plays a part in that. And so even those of us that are, so you got the Black men that aren't aware of it and just are acting out a program that, whether you're talking about their home, their music, their habits, and then the habits that they, engaged in on top of that.
Right.
Right. And then you got those of us that are kind of like, okay, I do want a different behavior, but aren't able to produce it because you don't know how to.
Right.
And so that's a unique challenge in itself.
I love that. Listen, ladies, they don't have a blueprint. A person can't give you what they don't have. And several of my other male guests said the same thing. This is what I saw, and this is the way I behaved. I went and got the help that I need now, which I was taught that getting help is a weakness. So I'm stuck in this rut of how I get out of this to have a healthy relationship, and I've never seen one. And Rodney, who was on last week, also said, my dad was in the home with me. He was in the home where he was good. He was a good man, but he didn't teach me how to be a man. And I was like, whoa, I found that interesting because they're good men without the skills to teach their son what they really need to know when it comes to dating and life in general, period.
Right. And so that trickles down. So now you go from generation to generation because unless you have somebody that kind of can now get that right? That requires something. And so for me, thankfully, when I was still impressionable, I was kind of placed into an environment where I was able to see different examples. Right. And so I was able to see that, oh, okay, one man, one woman, family. Right. And this is awesome. I knew this is what I wanted, right? So you'd be able to see that. And so I think that is important too. Once you realize it, that there's a deficiency there, you have to seek out, you have to seek out the actual right model. And there are, there are plenty of really good Black relationships and Black men that are in, you have to seek those out. Like I have friends that are married, happily married,
right?
Faithful, right. Like I had to see, I have to acknowledge that to myself. Like, okay, what I want to produce, I have to actively put myself in an environment so I can learn how to produce. That does take some time. It takes some unpacking of habits. It takes, because not only do you have the dynamic of what was modeled before you, then now you take that and engage in your own behaviors that don't help. And so now you couple what you learned with what you taught yourself, and now you got to kind of unpack that, and that requires some work. Everybody isn't willing to do that work. Wow. That's why I think Black relationships are so important. Even like when you're talking about Obama's, I think having those examples are so important because think about it, many of us haven't seen it.
Right. And it's possible. Like you said, I love what you just said. I have black friends, black male friends who are faithful, who are monogamous, because for us as women, we're being told that black men don't know how to be monogamous. Black men don't know how to be faithful. So this is why I really wanted to do this. If you just tuned in, you're tuned into hashtag Coffee with Tea, and we're having hashtag NCM Man Convo Mondays. And I'm here with my very special guest, author, speaker, television host, Kevin Carr, who was talking about the dynamics of dating and being a black man and the things in the midst and stuff that we need to let go of. So my next question is, how do black men, right? Because women, we not asking men out on a date. Some of us are not, because we've been taught certain things too, but we deal with rejection a certain way. And we think that men are not human beings. But I want people to know that men are human beings. How do black men deal with rejection and, the fear of actually asking a woman to go on a date?
Yeah. I mean, I think two ways you can deal with it. You can deal with it in a healthy way, or you can cope with it. You can kind of, I think some of us go one of two ways. One of us deal with it in a healthy way. We accept it. We don't internalize it, which is, I believe, is how you're supposed to handle rejection. Then you got men who they get rejected, and their defense mechanism is let me put my ego to the forefront, right? So that's why you get examples of a woman maybe walking down the street, a black man advances to her. She does not accept his advances, and now he calling out her name, right? You this, you that, you that, because he's rejected, and for whatever reason, he doesn't know how to handle that. So his response to that is to push his ego to the forefront, because now he takes it personal. So I think that it's important that we don't take rejection personal. One of the things I learned in writing that book, that book really started as Instagram content.
Right.
I was just documenting my journey as I was dating. And then, some of that, there was excitement, there was rejection, there was all different things. And what I learned was that whether you're a woman or a man, we might deal with these things differently, but we do come across a lot of the same experiences in terms of trying to find people that fit us.
Right.
It's the journey is similar. And so I think that the best way to deal with rejection is to just accept it, but not internalize it. And I think that you have to look at rejection in a manner of not that this person is saying something's wrong with me. This person just, for whatever, it's their prerogative that they're not interested, and that's okay.
Right.
But it's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's a challenge. I think sometimes women feel like, man, it's easy for a man to approach women. It's really one of the hardest things to do, because you have to put yourself out there to show your interest in someone. There's a certain level of vulnerability that requires, that really makes you work yourself up, say, hey, and then when you don't get that back, if you're not careful, it can be a hurtful thing. So it's important to be able to look at it as an aspect of, this is part of the process. Not necessarily, it's not that this person is saying something's wrong with me. It's just that whatever reason, this dynamic doesn't work, even though I might have wanted it to.
Right.
You got to kind of be okay with that.
Oh, I love that. The internalizing. Ladies, we're not the only ones who internalize things. Sometimes men make it about them. And we don't think this, because we're being told it's not about you. As a woman, I hear it all the time now. And I had to accept that in order for me to be in healthy relationships and move forward and not be devastated if something doesn't work out. Like, whatever that person does, Trey, is not about you. Stop internalizing it. And we don't think that men internalize. And another thing is, we don't think about sitting there, wherever we are, at the bookstore, at the supermarket, at the bar, wherever we might be, and a man has to approach us. We don't think about how hard that is for him to say, whoa, what if I go up to her and she don't want to talk to me?
Right. And especially in these times, because I also understand that you might be in the bookstore, but you might have been in 2 other stores before that, and 3 other guys might have approached you.
Right.
So I got to take that into account, that she might not want to talk. Or I don't know, I don't see her ring, but I don't know if she's married. I don't know if she's committed. Right. All these things run through our minds when we have to approach someone.
Wow. This is so good. It just helps me. And for women too, we don't have to accept every event that comes our way, but I want us to be mindful to have grace and mercy when somebody does approach you, to be pleasant about it, even if it's a no. That's, because sometimes when we just don't talk to me, but we're wondering why nobody's asking us out on a date. You know what I'm saying? Because we're like, why is he coming over here? Because you want to go on a date. And like I said, just sometimes we need to be a little calm, a little nicer, ladies, when it comes to a man. And we're not interested, because it's okay, because we have preferences too.
Yeah.
My next question is, are black men turned off by Black women, or is this just a picture society has painted?
Yeah, I don't believe so at all. I love Black women. So I think that in many aspects, it's a picture that like society has painted in terms of Black men not being, as interested as Black women as other races. I don't think that's true at all. I think that
there's a lot of that out there, like Black men don't support Black women, and Black men don't want to date Black women anymore. So, is it the media sensation, or?
I think it's a little. I think it's several things. I think that there are segments of Black men who, for whatever reason, don't want to date Black women. It's fine. I'm okay with preferences as long as your preference isn't jeopardizing somebody else's self-esteem, right? So as long as you like this, just because you like this type of woman, that don't mean this other type of woman is not good, or
right.
You know what I mean? Like that don't mean you put this person down,
right?
There's a lot of that I think, which I think isn't good. But in terms of, I don't think it's as big as can be portrayed in the media. I don't.
Right. Oh, good, because I'm speaking to you as a Black man, being around Black men and speaking all over the country.
Yeah, and again, I come across all types, right? I have friends that don't really date Black women like that for whatever reason,
right?
Which is that's your prerogative, right? I think that again, you have the right to have your preferences. I think that as long as it's not putting another Black woman down,
right?
Right,
because I'm just hearing this all the time, and I just always want to speak to other Black men who are around Black men. It's not necessarily I don't date Black women because Black women are harsh and Black women are mean and Black women are bitter. I just want women to know that maybe a Black man is dating a woman, a different race, because he met her in the supermarket and they clicked.
Yeah, it's not always, to be honest, a lot of in my experience, a lot of Black women are their preferences, which is rightfully so. They want a Black man, right? Where a lot of Black men are like, whatever.
Right.
And so sometimes you might meet somebody in the supermarket that's not Black, and it just happened to click. And that's not an indictment on Black women. That's just happens to click like that,
Right. Because like you said, I don't want us internalizing every time we see a brother walking down the street with somebody else, like, oh, he don't like Black women.
Yeah, no, I just think it's just sometimes it's just an organic thing,
right.
I think that, again, I'm a believer, I love Black love, and I recognize that, there's a certain energy that you get from a Black woman that you just can't duplicate. It's amazing, right? But I also am a believer, in love itself, so I don't feel like you should, I'm okay with you having a preference. I just, my personal belief that love should win, though, and so don't limit yourself to what you want to produce, if it's at all possible for you.
Oh, I'm just saying, we just trying to get some clarity here, because I don't want us, like I said, as Black women internalize. It doesn't bother me if a Black man dates whoever. That's none of my business personally. And I don't think when I see a Black man with someone of another race that, he don't like Black women, or I just think to myself, and this is just me, well, maybe he met her walking in the supermarket and they just clicked. They smiled at each other.
Maybe he don't like Black women, but that has nothing to do with you.
Right. Exactly. See, that's where I'm at with it. Yeah.
You could look at it from the standpoint, well, that's what I'm.
Right. That's his problem. He's missing out. Yeah. Not that ladies of other races, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with you. Yeah, I'm just saying I am a Black woman. So next question I want to ask is, and I want everybody that's tuned in now, you tuned in to hashtag Coffee with Tea. I'm here with Kevin Carr from Man Convo Monday, and this is Kevin sharing his truth. It's not facts or he got statistics and all of that. We could do that too on the next one, but this one is where I give men a safe space to share their truth. So what do you think turns a Black man off early in dating?
I think it depends on, I think a lot of that is case by case. It depends on the person, right? So I think that I'm going to speak from my perspective, because there are I know a lot of women feel like, especially Black women, who we're in a space where a lot of Black women are entrepreneurs or executives, are doing very well.
Yes.
And a lot of their experiences, just in my work and speaking to them, a lot of their experiences where they are dating Black men who might not have that same status, they have some trouble in that dynamic. But I do think when you are dating Black men who have a healthy self-esteem, confidence in themselves, I don't think that's a challenge.
Right.
So I don't think women have to or should dumb down who they are or their accomplishments for the sake of dating. I don't think that. Because good. I think that the person that fits you and understands that, and we'll go into this, but understands that who you are is based on your values, not on what you've done and not on what you have.
Right.
And so I think that so I think what turns off some guys doesn't turn off others. Like, right? So if I come to you and my self-esteem is lacking, if I already look at myself in an inferior light, and then here you are shining bright because you're doing that thing, then I might try to, I might be intimidated by that. But I think that in that aspect, if you come across that, again, don't internalize that. That don't mean don't never dim your light. That person just might not be able to handle that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That doesn't turn me. I think that for me, my turnoffs have nothing to do with. It's just my turnoffs are just basically when I come across people that I feel like our values aren't in line.
Right.
Right. So I think that when you're dating people that are, when you're dating people whose soul is at a healthy place, the turnoffs are different.
Right.
And so it's not going to be about so much as to like you've done this or the way you talk. It's just basically the turnoffs are going to be, does this fit? The things that you find important,
right?
The things that take priority in your life, do they match where I am?
Right. So that's good because my next question was about values. Are you in my head right now, Kevin? Stop it, because your book has really opened my eyes, and I'm just so happy that I read the book. I'll read it again because it was it's all. Where's the book at? It's all highlighted. I got like highlights everywhere. Like I wish I'd go through the whole book because it was so good. But speaking of values, I spoke to 3 guys before this interview just because I wanted to like get a little bit of touch on values because I'm like, all right, Kevin talked about values, which is good for me. Morals and values are always a high thing for me. But I'm like, do Black men really know what values are? So it was 2 guys that I talked to that had no idea what I was talking about. When I asked them, well, what are your values? And they were like, well, ask me that again. I'm like, what are your values? What matters to you? They're like, oh, I really didn't think about that. But there was one guy who knew exactly what his values were, and they didn't line up with mine. So I was like, wow, these 2 didn't know. This one don't line up with me. So do Black men actually know? I know you're in a different space right now because a lot of your dating is based on values, but do Black men actually know what values are?
I do. I think people know what they are. They just might not know how to articulate that, right? And so, for example, or just may not be conscious of it, but we consciously live by our values, whether we know how to name it or not. And so, like, if you would have asked them, so instead of asking those 2 guys what their values are, if you would have asked them, hey, what are the things that are most important to you, right?
Right. They
might have been able to articulate that. And even if a person can't articulate their values, they live them out. And so you can see how somebody lives. Okay, is education important to them? Is physical fitness important to them? What about financial security? Like, a person's life goes in the direction of their values. And so you can kind of see, if you observe somebody over time, what they value about how they live their life daily. Right. And that's the importance of going back to that gathering data part in terms of dating, is that you're trying to figure out, are our core values in line?
Right.
As I'm engaging with somebody. Because if they're not, you're not going to be able to create a healthy relationship.
I love it.
And so I think that's why it's so important, right? Like, it's so important to, again, go back to those red flags, because when you get that it could mean, okay, this could be a conflict in values here. So you want to address that. You want to just see, like, is it really? You want to make sure. And so that's so important, because when you start to try to, it's like, if our values aren't in line and we both trying to build a house, it's going to be like this. You lay brick, and I'm going to take the brick off and then put it somewhere else.
Right.
Right? But we're never going to be able to build what we want succinctly because our values aren't in line. And so it's so important, before you really begin to explore somebody else's, you really got to figure out your own. You really got to really decide, like, what's most important to you. How do you feel? Like, like, what things are most important to you? Like, how do you feel about these things? And those values may change over time or may adjust a bit, but you got to be able to figure that out before you can identify that as somebody else.
Whoa.
You know,
Woo!
and I think it's a lifelong process, but I do think it's something that you should be consistently aware of.
You listen. I'm telling you, your book really took me to the top. I know you have to jump off because it's 9:25. I need to honor your time because I know you have something else to do.
All right, let's do one more question.
Okay, good. But I wanted to say a few things from your book.
Okay.
And then we can talk about those. But I want to get these 3 points out while you're here because these things, they touch me. They made me think. Like, one of the things you said, be sure to only invest where there is clarity and certainty. The other thing you said, if I'm realizing that I have often invested too much time too freely too soon. So this is a question. Based on you said, be sure to only invest where there's clarity and certainty. If a man is unclear, what does that mean?
Well, one, two things. It means that either he, I believe so. I think the first we started this topic talking about men knowing what they want, right? Men always know what they want. Period.
Wait. Ladies, men always know what they want. Period. With a T on the end.
So whether that's something you want or whether it's not, that has to be determined. But we always know what we want. Now we might be in a season where we aren't in we don't have the capacity to articulate that. That's one thing. We can talk about that, but you can tell what somebody wants by what they do consistently. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if they want, so we're talking about investing in clarity and certainty. If a man really wants you or wants commitment or wants to build something, there's no further guts, right? It's clear, it's certain, and so you can kind of tell that. If there's a space where, I don't really know how this person feels, or I don't really know if this person wants what I want, then you got yourself a dilemma there, because either this person is either not able to have a transparent conversation with you and be honest about what they really want, or they aren't able to articulate that. Either way, you got a problem. Right? So you want somebody that can do two things. You want somebody that can tell you exactly what their intentions are.
Yes.
You want to be able to tell what a person's intentions are and you can tell that if their actions are in line with the words consistently, right? And then you want somebody that can articulate that and express that to you in a manner that you can understand it.
Right. Intentions. A lot of times women are scared. And I'm not saying the first date to go, I want to get married, I want to have 3 kids, I want a 3-bedroom house, 2 bathrooms, garage, all that. I'm not saying that. But women are afraid. This is from me speaking from talking to different Black women and deal with Black men, because we're talking about Black men right now. Women are scared to set an intention, to say, this is my intention in dating, because they're scared it's going to turn a man off. Should we ease back on our intentions?
You don't set that intention. That's like getting in the car, you trying to get to New York or you trying to get to DC, you driving, but you don't put the navigation system on.
Right.
You got to set that intention. You can do that without putting pressure on people. I think that's where it comes in. So sometimes we feel like, I want this, and I want to make this person feel pressure.
Right.
But I think you can. One of the ways that you can do it is just you can initiate conversations around your intentions without putting pressure on people. So you don't have to say, I want to get married, I want a family.
Right.
On date number 2. Even though that might be what you want. You don't have to say that. What you can say is, what's your thoughts on marriage? Is that something that you want to do in the future? Right? Do you have children? Do you want a family? So now it's not as much pressure in that dynamic, but we just having a conversation as humans, trying to learn each other.
Right.
And I think that never lose your intentions. You carry them with you. But instead of boom, put it on the table, right, serve them with some sugar on it, and just have a conversation about it, so you can learn what somebody really wants. Because if you really allow somebody a chance to talk, they'll tell you who they are and what they want. And so sometimes we want so bad that we want to say, I want this, I want that, I want that. Whereas though, let's talk about it and let me give you the space to really see if I can hear your true heart on the subject.
Woo! I love this. That was so good. So ask questions like this. Ask and you just made me hear something clear too in my head. Ask general questions.
Yeah. Just like, hey, listen, what do you think about this? Because again, don't put so much pressure on an interaction. Like, if we can just focus on that. Let's just focus on building influence a person. By doing that, you really will find what you're looking for, because you take some of the pressure out the dynamic. Hey, I'm just trying to get to know you as a human being.
Right.
And in that space, you really are able to build relationships, because that pressure, that I want this, I want you for this, I want you for that, sometimes it gets in the way of really learning the person.
Right. And it should really be a natural transition into a devoted, committed relationship instead of forcing somebody to give you a title. And I know, I think you said this one time before on the panel, you said women give themselves, collect data, and so many women give themselves titles that they're not entitled to. So they want to play house and play wife, but you're not even entitled to that title because you haven't even built a firm foundation on data that you collected. You just out here willy-nilly because you want a man. So one more thing, and then I got to let you go. One more thing. I looked up the word chivalry. Chivalry. Is chivalry dead? You know, they've been saying that for years. It's defined as a quality held by knights and gentlemen offering courage, honor, and protection to women. Are we in a time right now where we've put ourselves on a pedestal as women, one, because we're very educated, one, because we're entrepreneurs, and we don't even allow a man to open the door for us? We don't allow a man to go ahead of us. We don't allow a man to do the things that a man is supposed to do, and have men felt or are feeling intimidated to where they fall back. Because Rodney said something. He said, I would rather a woman tell me to fall back than step up.
Yeah, me too. Right, but I think that's, every man doesn't have that, don't have that mindset. Some of us feel like, all right, well, if you got it, you got it, right?
Right.
And so I think that it's a fine line in it. And I think that there's a balance in, like, I need it. There's a balance in, like, I could use it, or it's the difference between I need it and I can use it. Right. Or I need it or I'll allow it. And I think that allow somebody, I think it's just about, specifically for women, allowing a person the space to make the gesture.
Right.
And being okay if they don't.
Because I'm guilty of going out with somebody and running and opening the door for myself.
Yeah, and it's natural, right? You out here doing things, which is fine. I think just sometimes, just if you remember, allow somebody to make the space, to make the gesture.
Right.
And if they don't make it, you kind of see where they are. Like, I still walk on the outside of the curb when walking with a woman. That's just natural. It's in me. Everybody don't do that. There's been times where I've had to move people over to the inside. I'll do that. Everybody won't, but if you allow somebody just to make a gesture, and then just be okay if they don't. Everybody is at a different space, And then sometimes you might have to gently nudge them and teach people sometimes you teach people how to treat you.
Right. So it's okay for you to say, you're not gonna open the door?
I don't know. I would say that. I've had, like, women, which I was going to do anyway, but I've had women like me walk ahead of me and slow down a little bit.
Right. Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I think you can do it, like, when you just kind of, like, nudge them on without letting them know you're nudging them on.
Right. Okay. Right. Leading from behind. So
yeah.
Oh, okay, let me just stop at the door and give them the opportunity to open the door.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, if you just tuned in, you're tuned in to #Coffee with T, and this is Man Convo Monday, and we have author Kevin Carr, who is a wealth of knowledge. I learned so much from his book, from him speaking from internally about himself and not necessarily about anybody else. That was eye-opening to me, to hear a brother speak about these are the values, this is what I need, this is how I thrive in a relationship. It had nothing to do with anybody else. It was just really, really, like, every chapter was really good, and I just want to tell them a couple of the chapters. Values, facts over feelings. Let's just be real. Invest in attachment. Build what you want. Decisions, right person, right time, right fit. Stay secure. And one of the things you said too was your superpower was being transparent.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Amen. I love you. Because so many of us, I tell men all the time, women, we can handle the truth because the truth hurts and we'll heal from it, but lies damage.
Absolutely.
And sometimes women don't heal from it and they take that to the next relationship and then we damage men. And it's just a cycle. But the truth does hurt, men, but we can take it. We can take it. We might cry and we might take a few weeks to heal, but we'll be okay. So I want you to tell everybody where they can find you And
yeah, find me. I'm on Instagram at Kev_Carr, or website KevinSCarr.com. You can send me an email if you got any questions, anything like that. I got a podcast. It's on Apple and Spotify. We're on hiatus right now, obviously, but I got I think it's about 25, 27 episodes on there. You can kind of catch up. One's called Ask Kev, where we answer dating questions.
yes.
So yeah.
Yes.
I got some. We got some TV stuff coming up soon once all this is over. So
I'm so excited. I'm so excited about that. So if you need any information, if you want to connect with Kevin, if you want him to come and do a podcast, a live, because we're doing everything virtual right now, you can go to his website. If you can't find his website, just come back to me and I'll give you his information, because I think this brother has a wealth of knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to read the book so that you can live your truth and know that it's okay for you to have standards. Because we make black men feel like they can't have standards, they can't have morals, they can't have values. One guy told me, then I'm gonna let you go. He said, a woman got mad at me because I didn't want to date women with kids.
Yeah, right. Look,
she was heated because he had kids, and he said my situation's uncontrolled.
Yeah.
And she really was heated about that. And I'm just like, a brother get to have his preferences, standards, and you cannot make him not. So get Kevin's book, What I've Learned About Dating. Please get this book. If you don't do anything else today, go order this book, and I promise you, it will change life, because it's life changing. So thank you guys for tuning into #Coffee with T. I will see you guys on Wednesday, because I'm on now Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We have a whole different situation in my house. I'm a homeschool teacher now, so I can't do Monday through Friday anymore. But I'll be here Monday, Man Combo Monday, Wednesdays to catch in the middle of the week, and Friday for Freestyle Friday. And I will see you Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Coffee with T, and that's me. Thank you so much, Kevin Carr. I wish you the best. I pray that God rains blessings on you for just doing this and sharing your truth. Love you guys, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Peace.
See you later.
Thanks, Kevin.
You're welcome.